After 26 years, Princess Diana's final phone call to Prince William has been partially released, and it's nothing like we expected. The emotional message, kept hidden for decades, reveals Diana's love, her fear, and a chilling final line. William was left in tears, and now the world finally knows why. The night in Paris. Diana picks up the phone. It was August 30th, 1997, late evening in Paris, and Princess Diana was restless. The lights of the Ritz glowed behind her, but her mind wasn't on the city. Paparazzi were circling, security felt thin, and her instincts were sharp. Those close to her later said she'd become increasingly uneasy in the days leading up to that night. She spoke of surveillance. She questioned the safety of her movements. But even in that tension, she made time for her boys. In her suite, Diana picked up the hotel phone and dialed Balmoral Castle, where William, 15, and Harry, 12, were spending their summer break with their father and grandparents. It was meant to be a brief, casual check-in. She'd done it hundreds of times before. But this call would become the last time her voice ever reached them. Only fragments of this phone call have been publicly known over the years. Short phrases, tones of affection, nothing more. But now, parts of the message, quietly recorded in royal transcripts and confirmed by trusted insiders, have been released. The world is finally hearing what Diana tried to say in those final moments. It was just hours before her fatal crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. The boys were expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But for Diana, there was urgency, though unspoken. She had spent the day dodging cameras, navigating whispers in the press about her relationship with Dodi Fayed, and feeling a sense of being watched she couldn't shake. The room she made that call from is now considered sacred. Not because of the tragedy that followed, but because it's where she gave her final gift, her voice. According to a former palace aide, Diana's voice on the line was warm, but slightly strained. She told William, "I'll see you very soon, my darling. I love you more than anything." She added something she never usually did. "Tell Harry I love him too. No matter what happens, you two are my everything." At the time, it didn't raise alarm. But now, it feels like something more. A goodbye veiled as reassurance. That call would become the last sound William ever heard from his mother. The memory stayed with him, locked away for years. But the message, once buried by time and grief, is finally being pieced back together, and it's changing everything. William and Harry at Balmoral, ready for their regular call. At the other end of that line, in the stone halls of Balmoral, William and Harry were in full holiday mode. The Scottish air was crisp, and the boys were running wild through the fields with their cousins. That evening, they were playing games, chasing one another across the estate grounds, completely unaware of what the night would bring. To them, the call was routine. A quick, "Hi, Mum," followed by chatter, laughter, and likely a hasty, "Bye, talk tomorrow." They were distracted, youthful, full of energy. They had no idea it would be the last time they'd ever hear her voice. William, in particular, was eager to hang up. He's since admitted the guilt of that choice, how he rushed the call, anxious to return to his fun. "We were in a desperate hurry to say, 'See you later,'" he once recalled, his voice thick with regret. He didn't know then what those seconds would cost. Harry, just 12, has said he doesn't remember exactly what he said to Diana that night, but he remembers that it was short, too short, and he remembers how that haunts him. Both boys assumed they'd see their mother in just a few days. It wasn't a goodbye. It was supposed to be just another conversation. That's what makes it so devastating. They weren't prepared for tragedy. They weren't warned. No alarm bells rang. Diana, perhaps wanting to shield them, kept her tone light. She didn't hint at fear. She didn't mention the press chaos or her growing sense of being hunted. She simply said she loved them, reassured them, and let them go. It was only later, when the news broke, when the weight of that night came crashing down, that the boys would replay that call over and over, each word, each silence, wondering if they'd missed something, if they should have said more, if they could have somehow kept her here. That phone call became a haunting milestone in their lives, a dividing line between before and after, between being royal sons and becoming the boys who lost Diana. And now that fragments of that final conversation are being revealed to the world, the pain, so deeply personal, is echoing again. For William, the message has become both a scar and a guide. For Harry, it's a regret he admits he'll carry forever. And for the rest of the world, it's a heartbreaking reminder. Even princesses say goodbye in whispers, and not everyone gets the chance to listen. The words Diana spoke, fragments and newly released messages. The call was brief, no more than a few minutes. But within that fleeting exchange lay a weight of emotion that nearly 3 decades later still clings to every word. Until now, the world only knew what William and Harry had chosen to share. I love you. See you soon. Soft reassurances that sounded like any mother's voice on the phone. But newly released excerpts reveal there was more. Lines that never reached the public until now. According to a trusted former confidant of Diana, parts of her final call were preserved in a handwritten note, a habit Diana often kept when she couldn't sleep. In that note, discovered in a private collection and verified by sources close to the Spencer family, Diana reflected on her final conversation. It included the chilling line, "I didn't want to scare them. But I felt something, a shadow following me. I told William to be brave." Other fragments, now confirmed by close friends and former aides, suggest that just hours before her death, Diana also phoned another confidant. During that call, she reportedly said, "I wish I could see my boys right now. I've never needed them more." It wasn't just a mother missing her children. It was a woman feeling the walls closing in. In the released version of her call to William, one line stands out, one that he reportedly never forgot, but had never shared until now. "No matter what anyone says about me, you know the truth. That's yours to keep." It was more than affection. It was a coded warning, a reminder to hold on to her, even if the world tried to bury her image beneath scandal and stories. William, now a grown man and future king, remembers that sentence vividly. It wasn't meant for comfort. It was meant to last. And it did. The call didn't include panic. Diana didn't speak in fear. But there was a calm intensity, as if she knew it might be her last moment to imprint herself on their hearts. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't dare. But in every word, there was finality. Those who've heard the full transcript describe it as heartbreaking in its gentleness. Diana didn't cry. She didn't plead. She just reached for her sons in the only way she could. From across borders, through a phone, with love and hidden fear stitched between the lines. It wasn't until years later that both William and Harry came to understand what she might have been trying to say beneath the surface. And for William in particular, it's a message he can never unhear. William's grief. The call sticks in my mind. For Prince William, that final phone call has become a mental echo, a voice he replays in his head more than he lets on. Though he's spoken of it sparingly, when he does, his words carry deep weight. "That call sticks in my mind," he once said, his eyes full of pain. Forever. He was just 15, full of summer energy, surrounded by cousins and the carefree rhythm of holiday life at Balmoral Castle. He didn't want to stay on the line. He didn't feel any urgency. His mother would be back in a few days. He'd speak to her then. But now, he can barely forgive himself for hanging up too quickly. He said publicly and painfully that he wishes he'd spoken longer, asked her more, told her how much she meant to him. But at that age, you don't know how little time you might have. And William's guilt over that moment has followed him for decades. The regret is sharp, not just because of what wasn't said, but because that phone call became the last bridge between them. The last real moment before the world ripped her away and turned her into a symbol, a headline, a tragedy. That short call is the final moment he had his mother, not Princess Diana. Over the years, those few minutes have shaped him in ways few understand. Friends say the memory of that call makes him more present with his own children, that he tries never to rush through bedtime routines or brush off their stories, because he remembers how fleeting that connection can be, how final a goodbye can feel when it comes too soon. The pain isn't just emotional. It's woven into his sense of duty. Protect, listen, be present. That's the legacy Diana left him in that call, whether she intended it or not. As a future king, William knows he carries her name, her memory, and now her voice. A voice that, thanks to these new revelations, has returned not in sorrow, but in clarity. Her words weren't just a farewell. They were a final gift. A gift he still holds, tearfully, painfully, powerfully, in his heart. Harry's sorrow regrets that last moment. For Prince Harry, the final phone call with his mother is more fog than memory. He was just 12 years old, playing with cousins in the gardens at Balmoral, carefree and distracted. When the call came in, it wasn't a moment he savored. It was a moment he rushed through. And it's that very rush that he's never quite forgiven himself for. In interviews over the years, Harry has spoken about the deep regret he carries. "I can't even really remember what I said," he once admitted. "If I'd known that was the last time I'd speak to my mum, the things I would have said would have been so different." That admission has haunted him, because while others remember Diana through headlines, Harry remembers her through silence, the silence that followed that last call. He recalls the shortness, the casualness, the assumption that there would always be another time. But there wasn't. And that final exchange, so brief, so forgettable in the moment, became, in hindsight, one of the defining heartbreaks of his life. According to sources close to the prince, Harry has described the feeling as unfinished. That call is not just a moment from the past, it's a wound that's never closed. While William remembers exact lines, Harry remembers the feeling of not knowing what was lost until it was too late. Years later, as more details emerged about what Diana was facing in Paris, paparazzi pressure, public speculation, and growing tension, Harry began to understand the weight she must have carried in that call. Did she know? Was she trying to protect them from fear? Did she want to say more but held back for their sake? Those questions have never left him. In private, Harry has reportedly said that the pain of that call has shaped how he parents his own children. He's said to be deeply intentional about saying the things that matter, even in short moments, never assuming time will stretch forever. He's also channeled that pain into purpose, his mental health advocacy, his charity work, and his decision to break away from the institution he believes contributed to his mother's emotional suffering. Every step Harry takes is, in a way, tied to that last phone call, that unspoken goodbye. The sorrow is still there, not loud, not dramatic, but steady, deep. That one call, rushed, normal, insignificant at the time, became the moment he'd replay for the rest of his life. The moment where a boy lost his mother and didn't know it. Now, with the new fragments of Diana's message being released to the public, Harry has begun to process not just what was said, but what was meant. And though he may never fully remember the words, he remembers the feeling. And that is what still brings him to tears. Why it was so short, distractions, assumptions, youth. The heartbreak of Diana's final phone call isn't just in what was said, it's in how quickly it ended. At 15 and 12, William and Harry were boys, full of life, laughter, and summer distractions. They were at Balmoral, surrounded by family, running through gardens, riding ponies, playing games. And when the call came in from their mum, they picked up with joy, not urgency. Neither sensed danger, neither expected anything unusual. To them, it was just another check-in. Diana called often, sometimes briefly, always lovingly. They never imagined it would be the last time they'd hear her voice. So they hurried. They kept it light. They said, "Love you," and hung up. And it's that youthful innocence, the assumption of time, that would haunt them forever. William has said that if he could turn back time, he would have stopped everything and talked. Just talked. Told her how much he loved her, told her about his day, asked her about hers. But instead, he was in a rush to get back to his cousins. The call ended too quickly. For Harry, the pain is different, but no less sharp. He can't even recall his exact words. He just remembers being distracted, wanting to get back outside. That normal, innocent eagerness now feels like a betrayal, a stolen chance. But how could they have known? From Diana's side, she didn't seem to raise alarm. She didn't panic. Maybe she didn't feel in danger at that exact moment, or maybe she did, and chose not to scare them. That part will never be known. But what is known is this: that final call lasted mere minutes. And in those minutes, a lifetime of pain was born. Diana's love was always fierce. Her phone calls were filled with warmth, nicknames, and encouragement. But the cruel twist of that night was that life didn't give her, or her boys, more time. Now, as more of her message comes to light, the brevity of the call feels even more tragic, because she may have been trying to say more, so much more, beneath her usual comforting words. But the moment passed, and with it, so did the last chance to say everything that mattered. What remains now isn't just the message. It's the silence that followed. A silence that William and Harry will carry forever. The public release. New revelations. What's changed now? For years, the world only knew bits and pieces of Princess Diana's final call. Brief goodbyes, motherly love, and nothing more. But now, a private recording, long kept secret by a close friend of Diana's, has been partially released. And it's changing everything. This release didn't come from the palace, or from William or Harry. It came from someone close to Diana who held on to it for over 25 years, out of loyalty and respect. But as public interest in Diana's final hours grew, they decided it was time to share a glimpse of what Diana really said. The fragments are short, but deeply powerful. Diana's voice is calm but emotional. In one line, she says, "I miss you more tonight than I ever have. The world feels heavy, but your voices keep me going. And then, softly, if anything ever happens, remember, I was never afraid to love you out loud. It wasn't a direct warning, but it wasn't just comfort either. It felt like a goodbye she wasn't ready to say. Insiders say the palace was blindsided by the release. No official comment has been made. But behind the scenes, there's damage control. Questions are rising again. Did Diana sense something? Why was this message hidden for decades? Now, every word, every pause is being analyzed. Some are calling it her final diary, a message of love, fear, and intuition captured in just a few minutes. People aren't just remembering Diana anymore. They're finally listening, and her voice is louder than ever. Impact on William's role and psyche. For Prince William, this newly revealed message doesn't just stir grief. It cuts deep into how he sees his own life, his responsibilities, and his future as king. He was just a boy when he took that call. But now, as a man, father, and heir to the throne, he's hearing his mother's voice in a way he never could at 15. Not as a comfort, but as a challenge, a guide, a haunting reminder that her absence has shaped everything. Those who know William best say the release of this message has been emotionally overwhelming. One insider close to the family said, "He's never truly moved past that night." But now, with these new words, it's like he's hearing her again, and she's telling him, "Be careful, be strong, be better." The call has reignited feelings he buried for years. Guilt, yes, but also clarity. In Diana's voice, he hears not just a goodbye, but a passing of responsibility. She couldn't protect them from the system. But now, it's his turn to protect his own children from it. This revelation reportedly led William to quietly cancel several public engagements in the days following the story's release. It wasn't about optics. It was personal. He needed space, time to process, to relive that moment, not as the boy who hung up the phone, but as the man who finally heard what his mother was trying to say. That message, buried for decades, has now become a turning point, a new chapter in William's understanding of legacy, duty, and emotional truth. He's said to be more reflective than ever, more present with his family, and more determined to lead with empathy, to be a protector, not just a prince. Diana's final call has become more than just a painful memory. It's become his compass. And for William, that call is no longer just a source of tears. It's a call to action. The palace, the press, and conspiracy whispers. As the emotional weight of Diana's final phone call sank in, a new storm erupted. Less about grief, more about truth. People began asking, why now? Why was this message buried for 26 years suddenly made public? And more importantly, what else is being kept hidden? The palace issued a cold, familiar line. Private family matters will not be addressed publicly. But behind the scenes, panic. Some aides had no idea the recording existed. Others believed it had been destroyed. Its release sent shockwaves through royal corridors. The tone of the message only added fuel. It wasn't just loving. It was laced with worry and unspoken fear. The phrase, "If anything ever happens," reignited long-dormant conspiracy theories. Tabloids pounced. Was Diana trying to warn her sons? The final call, a hidden goodbye? Palace in crisis after new Diana leak. Whispers returned about surveillance, missed messages, and whether that call was being listened to. One former royal staffer said anonymously, "Diana knew when something felt wrong. She always tried to protect her boys, even when the system didn't. Even Diana's old allies spoke out. One bodyguard recalled her last week, saying she felt watched and wanted to get away and reset. Now, as the palace urges silence, the public demands truth. Diana is no longer just a lost princess. She's a voice the world is finally hearing again. And maybe a voice that never wanted to stay quiet. Legacy. Diana's voice echoing for a generation. What began as a short phone call, rushed, ordinary, and easily forgotten, has become one of the most powerful pieces of Diana's legacy. With just a few lines, her voice has broken through decades of silence, shaking the foundations of the world she left behind. Not with scandal, but with honesty. And now her final words aren't just remembered. They're reverberating across a generation. For William and Harry, the call represents everything they lost. But it also offers a rare kind of peace. Proof that their mother was still trying to reach them, even in her final hours. That she never stopped loving, never stopped protecting, even when the world around her felt hostile. For the public, the call does something even more powerful. It humanizes royalty. It shows that even a princess, even one of the most photographed women on earth, was just a mother, grabbing a phone, calling her children, and trying to hold them close across the miles. It's a cautionary tale, too. A reminder that moments slip away, that goodbyes can come too fast, that the things left unsaid can echo forever. And for the monarchy, it's a wake-up call. Diana's voice refuses to fade. Her truth, once buried under spin, has found a way to rise again. Raw, unfiltered, unforgettable. That one call, so short, so simple, now carries the weight of love, warning, and legacy. She may be gone, but her words live on, not muted, not erased, but finally heard. Diana's final words to William weren't just a goodbye. They were a legacy. With this long-hidden message now exposed, the world sees a mother who loved fearlessly, sensed danger, and tried to protect her sons with her voice. That call may have ended, but its echo will never fade.